Yep, that's right. We're talking about the Nintendo Switch 2. 1 month later. Oh, there. Sorry, reflective screens. So for this video, instead of me just talking your ears off about whether it's worth it or not to have the Nintendo Switch 2, let's get some actual hands-on experience with not just me, but how about the rest of the Tanuki crew, asking them a whole series of questions about how they feel about the Switch 2. This also serves as a good little checkpoint for those who are curious, those who have fallen out of things, or just want to be validated on their opinion about them and their purchase. All parties are welcome here. So keep your Nintendo Switch 2 handy on you, or Nintendo Switch system. Grab some water, grab a drink, grab some popcorn. This is going to be kind of a doozy. And of course, these interviews aren't just tied to us. If you guys are also having experiences with your Switch 2 and you want to share that, please, by all means, leave it in the comments below. But here you go. What were your impressions of the Nintendo Switch 2 when it launched? And have they changed since playing it for a month?
I will say that at launch, my impressions were the same. When I felt it in my hand, I was like, man, it's definitely an upgrade.
Mainly, I had like pretty good impressions with the Switch 2. I didn't have the craziest expectations. Like even when it was announced, it was kind of like, whoa, 4K? Like I'm not gonna use it. It will be something that kind of like shows what it's able to push towards, and I can appreciate that.
I would definitely say that my first impressions were that this is gonna be a pretty impressive upgrade to the Nintendo Switch. And it pretty much is. And after playing for a month, it pretty much is. Next question.
Everything just feels bigger. Everything just feels smoother. Nothing feels cheap about the console. Like, I didn't think about that on the Switch 1 as well. I thought everything felt really good, but the more I played it, the more you realize the faults, right? Like you felt the turning in the Joy-Cons, the little kickstand looking really bad sometimes when you use it. But the Switch 2, I don't have any, like, it just doesn't feel wrong. The unit itself is so nice. Much bigger for my big palms. Like everything feels nice and clicky. The Pro Controller is probably the best controller ever made. No, my impressions were very high. And once I started seeing the UI run and everything was snappy, everything loaded fast, everything was just running better, yeah, I would say my impressions were pretty high.
Yeah, I still had a good impression of it. And mainly for the fact that like we all knew it was going to be a given, but having backwards compatibility being an option, so that way you could still have access to the library you had in the Switch 1. You don't want to cut off all those games you had, and depending on how big your library is. I didn't have any really bad expectations. I'd say that I was mainly trying to be open-minded about it. I didn't think I was expecting anything crazy. Considering like I still have my Switch 1, but I don't really have like the urge to go back to it. Like it's pretty good as far as like what the Switch 2 is giving me.
It's hard to go back to a Switch 1. Even Katrina, she was playing Balatro and she loaded it up on her Switch 1. She goes, I'm so spoiled. We've been playing Mario Kart World and everything just goes like fast. In a nutshell, yeah, everything's just nice. Everything just feels better. Everything's such an upgrade. We were playing multiplayer the other day and just not having to use the straps on these sideways and these big old buttons. Yeah, I would say my impressions are even better than they were day one. I've just been using this nonstop.
How's it like playing your Switch 2 these days? Does it feel particularly different from playing on your Switch 1 as far as the playstyle, accessories, etc.?
You know what? I've really been playing like more portably. I never really did it for the Switch 1. Unless like, you know, if we ever meet up as a group, we'll go and sit at like a table or a little circle, and then we all be on our own consoles.
If you're asking me in the sense that, does it feel different in my normal daily use and lifestyle? No. My Switch was already my main console of choice, and so this is just an upgrade to that. I still take it with me. It's a portable. I still play the Joy-Con split whenever my son naps. Well, he naps it. He'll nap in my arms, and so like when he's napping laying down, I just kind of play like this. Still do that. It's been the same since I do with Switch 1.
I've been on the portable lately because the difference with the size of the Switch 2, it makes it super comfortable. Like, I guess like it was too small for my hands. And I think that was like a general thing that everybody had.
It definitely feels a lot better as far as just like the general like feel of just the handheld mode, where everything is a lot bigger. And as much as I like to play around with the magnetic Joy-Cons and attach them on, well, actually, you know what, to be fair, that's even better too. The Joy-Con grip, and you just magnetically attach that. It's no longer a rail system. I really like the fact that you can actually just like attach them like that, and it's just so seamless. The increased size means like the bigger like button layout, which is much more comfortable, I have to say.
It feels more comfortable. Yeah, because you know what? During the midnight launch, the material, whatever they put on this thing, I don't know what they case it in, feels nicer on the console itself and the Pro Controller too. because that's like my usual go-to. I mainly play on dock like half of the time. I really think like it probably just more expanded to like how comfortable I feel on the portable now. And then even then when I want to put it on the tabletop and like pull out the stand, I'll use the Joy-Con grip and just grip on that to play on there. So I'm like, portable is like the new thing I'm trying to do more often with the Switch 2.
Actual differences in playstyle overall. Yeah, I love using the mouse for like welcome tour. It's really fun. Like I said on a previous question, everything is just snappier. It's really, really hard to go back to like playing Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom on a Switch 1 because everything just loads so fast. And that convenience of time is so precious nowadays. Oh, and I guess I should mention what I use, right? The Joy-Cons. I use a Pro controller. If I'm playing retro games through NSO, I have the NES remotes, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis controllers. I have an N64 controller, and I just got a GameCube controller. I also will play them on the go, like all the time.
What have you been playing on your Switch 2 so far? Has Switch 2 enhanced the experience with Switch 1 games for you?
So I guess I'll start with Switch 1 games first, right?
Yeah, we'll start with Switch 1.
I have definitely tried out and played a ton of games on Switch 1. I just beat Pepper Grinder the other day. Really fun 16-bit platformer. I loved it. Officially, my first Switch 1 game I've beaten on Switch 2.
I went back to my library to play like the other games on the virtual game card or game, whatever it is. I got to play more of like Garo, Mark of the Wolves again. I played River City Girls. I haven't played that game in a while.
But I have tried Mario Odyssey. It's gorgeous. Full 1080p, HDR support. Doesn't drop a single frame anymore. It's awesome.
Bakiru. That's a game that stutters quite a bit when just playing in the overworld. You have so many things happening on screen. When you're running this on Switch 2, no need for an update. It just forces 60 frames near consistently. Or if anything, like I don't even notice any drops.
Link's Awakening, no stutters anymore. Echoes of Wisdom, no stutters anymore. Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle bumps from 30 to 60, free patch. Doesn't even need an update to do it. Bowser's Fury on Mario 3D World, good lord, what an upgrade. Now it runs 60 frames portable, which it didn't do on Switch 1, which is really crazy. Bayonetta 3 runs at a smooth 60 frames. I was just throwing anything to this console just to see it.
Pokemon Sword, for example, is a game that still caps at 30 frames if I'm mistaken. I could have sworn I've seen 60 frames handheld. I could be wrong about that, but when I was playing that around, it definitely got an update as far as the speed. Everything just loads faster.
I don't think there was any issues whatsoever I found. Maybe in Smash, everything loads too fast, so the tips don't matter anymore, but like, oh no.
The only caveat I would say is that you will see a noticeable difference with some games, and with some, you could probably barely even recognize it. Trails from Zero, that was a PSP game, and it was already running great on Switch 1 anyway. The only noticeable difference would be load times, but even then, I don't know. Actually, I don't know the difference between load times. You would have to like compare them side by side to even see that.
What have I played on Switch 2 at least? Definitely Mario Kart World. I feel like that's like gonna be everyone's answer, right?
Well, I've definitely been mainly playing Mario Kart World.
I might be the only person in the group who's only played one Switch 2 game legitimately, and that's just Mario Kart World.
And yeah, it's pretty good. I'm not like the biggest fan of the intermission races. They're okay. They get a little samey at some points, but I do like that because of it, there's like 250 tracks to play on technically. So that's kind of cool. And you can play on backwards. So that's also a different experience.
That's just been a lot of fun. Honestly, there's like, we'll talk about game pricing and whatnot, but that's just been like really a 10 out of 10 experience.
I just think it's different. And I like that it's different because how could you go further than Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, right? That's like the mecca of all Mario Karts. So I like that it's a different game to that and that I can play both. Another thing I've been testing out for sure for Switch 2 wise is Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild. They look gorgeous.
I've been playing Breath of the Wild Switch 2 edition. Everything is running way smoother. A lot of the areas that you would like struggle with on Switch 1, not even a problem here. I've also been playing that alongside the Nintendo Switch app support, which is Zelda Notes, and it's just kind of revitalized my wants to replay through the game.
I picked up a couple third-party games. I haven't tried Cyberpunk, but I played Street Fighter 6, a lot of it. It's really fun.
Street Fighter 6, actually, the port was pretty solid. I didn't have any like crazy gripes with it. There was some things that I would hear about it, but like I didn't have any like real issues in terms of like even playing it on portable, because that was more of the issues I hear people having with it. But I'm like, I can still DP, like what?
It's a really solid version of the game, runs super smooth. No issues there. I played a little bit of Hogwarts. It's good. I don't really have any issues. It runs 30 frames. No loading. Not terrible. But the real hidden gem that I've been playing third-party wise is Fast Fusion. It's an eShop download. It's basically F-Zero, but you have to swap colors to kind of match like the speed boost. 4K, 30 frames, or dynamic 4K, 1080p, 60 frames. It uses every feature of the Switch 2 for the most part, except for like mouse controls. That's like the only thing it doesn't use. It has game share, online play, 4-player split screen. It is like, for $15, you need to check out Fast Fusion. That is like such a good game on the Switch 2.
The GameCube Nintendo classics. Now, I did play only two. Right? I only played Soul Calibur 2 and F-Zero GX. Now, Wind Waker is what I was like, you know, they already got me. But that's gonna be a special playthrough. I'm gonna play that at a different time.
Playing Soul Calibur 2 and unlocking everything is kind of a grind, but I remember it being a grind, so it's fun.
Are there any games you want or are looking forward to playing in the future, and why?
Aside from the ones that are already announced, the first party ones like Donkey Kong Bonanza and Metro Prime 4, I'm an indie guy, so I'm keeping my eyes open for like indies that I've played before or like been kind of interesting that I'm like hoping to see on the Switch 2. Neon Inferno is confirmed for the Switch, so that's gonna be coming out in October of this year, I believe. Ninja Gaiden, Ragebound, and Mina the Hollower. So all these games that had all these release dates, and only 2 have been confirmed for the Switch out of those 3. But then also, I'm mainly waiting for, like, these are the personal choices. I'm waiting for Constance. Hopefully it can be. Ninja Ming. I don't know what it is. But keep an eye out for that title. RoboGal. I think that's going to hit, like, hopefully more modern and old school gameplays for that title. So keep an eye out for that one.
I didn't bring out any other third parties, although honestly I think the Nintendo Switch 2 is my platform of choice, so if any third party games are out there, then I would definitely want to have that on the go with Switch 2 or the physical cartridge. But I definitely will look at first party and say definitely Fire Emblem. I know that Kirby's getting an updated version of Forgotten Land, but I would also love to see what they can do with another Kirby adventure game. Obviously, I'm looking forward to Kirby Air Riders, generally speaking, so Metroid for sure, Pokemon for sure, but it would be really cool to see what they have in mind for like Switch 2. They might even have that in the works, who knows. I know that Donkey Kong I'm looking forward to a lot, but I'd also be really curious now, what would they have in mind for 3D Mario? Like, how do you make Mario stand out on Switch 2 when Odyssey seemed to be the best 3D Mario experience? And we're just talking about 3D Mario. I'd love to see what they could do with 2D Mario. However, having said that though, Wonder is great.
There are definitely some third-party games I'm definitely keen to check out on here that's been announced so far. Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade, I just want to see it. I guess I'm excited for Borderlands 4, not because the marketing's good, trust me, it's not. Borderlands is Borderlands. I want to play Deltarune, I just haven't picked it up. Daemon Cross Machina, Titanic Scion. I'm like okay with the first game, it's not terrible. It's not amazing, but it's not bad. This game looks really good. First party wise though, what am I not looking forward to, I think is the real question. Pokemon Legends ZA, I can't wait to play it. Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, I literally can't wait to play that. Donkey Kong Bonanza looks like it's gonna be, Donkey Kong Bonanza is kind of the game I wanted it to be, the launch game, instead of Mario Kart World, if I'm being honest. But even the more quirkier games, Dragon Drive looks really fun. Kirby Air Riders is gonna be awesome because Sakurai makes it. Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment is gonna be really cool. The Dusk Bloods next year looks awesome. And then they just announced what? Splatoon Raiders? I need more info, Nintendo. I wanna know what that is. Like,
how are the other features on Switch 2, from browsing the eShop to talking to friends on Game Chat? 100% I had to check the eShop. If any gripe I had about Switch 1 and I had to keep it to just one, it's just the eShop. It was super laggy.
Oh, you know what? When it comes to the eShop, I haven't really had like more in-depth time with it. I'm assuming there's no real difference. I would hope there would be, as far as like how they optimize and let you navigate through the app.
The first thing I did was turn on the eShop. Just because, one, I wanted to download GameCube games. But two, I also wanted to download and buy Welcome Tour and all that stuff. So I went on the eShop. Man, what an upgrade.
The moment you load up eShop on Switch 2, it's just smooth. It's snappy. You can go and browse around everywhere and it doesn't take like 30 seconds to load in a page.
I think on the last time we had a questions video, I complained about the eShop, saying how slow it was. I don't have any issues anymore. I think everything's fine.
I remember doing a joke with Anaya actually, where it's like, you know what game you should play, and I knew the timing on this one, so it was great for comedic effect. And then it would show up.
It still has all the eShop slot from the first eShop, right? Everything's on there. So take that with what you will. But the speed, it's so fast to find things. And the recommendations is really cool. It's kind of weird to say that they limit the recommendations, but they only recommend you games every week, which is kind of funny. But like also then, yeah, because then I want a new set of recommendations next week because maybe I buy one this week. It's pretty cool. I like that for some reason.
Honestly, you could say the same thing about Nintendo Switch Online app. That's also pretty fast too. I think there's a little bit of lag time when it comes to the very first option, which is scanning through the game pages and it plays the music in the background. But once you get past that and you look at all the other options that you can typically check out on Switch 1, then all that's even just snappy too. I'm not sure if this is technically anything that you can really write off as just Switch 2, but I also understand that sharing media, especially to your smartphone directly from your Nintendo console, is been rewritten, so you're not dealing with QR codes. It's all being uploaded to the Nintendo Switch app, which would be on your phone or shared through with your phone. And I think that's just much more streamlined. I think that's much easier to work with because previously you would scan the QR code, you'd have to attach yourself to the Wi-Fi established by your Nintendo console, and then you'd wait, and then another QR code would show up and you have to scan that. And then that opens up a browser page that's shared between you and your Switch, and then you can download it from there. It was super tedious, but now it's just, you know, just have the app ready and it should just load up right there. So it's easier for sharing things.
The experience I had with Game Chat, I didn't really have like the craziest downsides to say, even though that we do have downsides, right? Considering what it does is something to be respected.
Game Chat has been a game changer. And let me be clear, we're talking about something that every other platform has had for years.
It's definitely a much more streamlined feature as far as talking to friends whenever you want to really just talk to them.
And it feels more inviting and more family friendly, or not family friendly, but like it feels more like a hangout in some way more than other party chat. Using the camera, having our games going on at the same time. We're just playing our own games or playing the same game.
If you see a person that's online, obviously you have to click on the chat button, which is a dedicated button on the Switch 2. You would look at the selection of friends that you are able to talk to, or well, you established to be able to talk to. And if they're online, you can actually like send them a request and they can accept it.
The microphone is really good. I have fans full blast in my house where we live. It's hot every day right now.
Honestly, I'm really impressed with the mic. I'm also impressed that they're willing to accept other third-party cameras as well into the mix, so long as you have like proper like adapters. Scratch that, you can actually use the dock if you have like a regular USB-A camera webcam that you may be using or used to use, and it should work relatively fine, but definitely check in and see if there's any applicable use for it or if it's even functional on the Switch 2.
But like outside of what I would do, I'm pretty cool with that. Like I'm gonna talk to everybody. Like I can see some of the funny things we can do having like the Nintendo camera or any camera. But on top of that, the voice chat is pretty solid. I don't really have any issues with it.
Also, it can support other USB mics. That's great.
It was kind of tedious, I guess, to set it up. If I had to give it like the benefit, is mainly because you have more control over it. Like even when you're setting it up, it gives you the options of who you even allow to be in game chat with you. This is more of like a focus of people having like moderation controls. So I'm assuming that's why they did it like that. Like even to a point where you have to use their Nintendo app. So I'm not against that. You know, I'm not really like, what if I don't know, that's cool. I get to do more and have more control of who I let into the circle. Shoot, and I appreciate that.
Are there any issues to report about the Switch 2?
I know that the internet has been blowing up with a lot of issues. I don't really have anything to report on my side.
I don't have any crazy issues to harp on about it. Like anything that messes my experience up.
Personally, on my end, no. I haven't really encountered any particular issues with my Switch 2.
Granted, I'm not a person who's gonna get a whole like cover for my Switch 2. I do know that the D-brand kill switch like thing is too big, so the magnets don't go all the way in, so it just kind of slips off.
Usually I play on the dock. I would assume like having more of a like a consistent, I don't know, like output, no dealings with like battery life or something.
You could always like say that like, oh, the battery life, it's just so short. To be fair, yeah, you have enough for a full charge to last you like a good session with it if you just play for like within 2 hours or so. or 1 hour. But when you want to do another session with it without charging the battery, it's a little bit dicey here and there. It kind of depends on what game you decide to play.
Which in my opinion, I don't know. It's like, I don't know where you're at compensating for like the battery life. It's a glorified tablet, right? So I can't expect this console, which is like a hybrid of like giving its power source like from portable to docking, like to be a home console, to where I expect this thing to be like, oh man, I could play this thing for like as long as a Lord of the Rings movie. I'm not expecting that.
If you are kind of used to this and you already have a portable charger that is functional with the Switch 2, then it's not really much of a problem.
It's better to just plan for that stuff. I don't know. I really don't have like the craziest issues with this console. I try to keep my ear on the ground and try to see what other people are finding wrong with it. That way I kind of like broaden my scope so I can see like if there's anything I would like to see. Hopefully Nintendo goes in that direction.
But I will tell you one thing that a lot of people aren't talking about too much. I've seen some, but not too many talk about it. I don't really like the dock. It feels flimsier than the Switch 1 dock, and it feels like if I squeeze it just a little too hard, it's gonna break. I usually have more than one dock in this house to kind of just move my Switch around. Right now, it's not possible. I only have a Switch 2. I only have one dock, so I move it between my living room to be with my family and then my main room here in the game room, you know, just to play games on the big TV here. Feels like I'm gonna break the dock every time. And I don't like that feeling. Everything feels high quality except for the front of the dock. I don't know what it is.
How are your feelings about the pricing for the console and Switch 2 games so far?
I think we all generally had the same like price range, right? It's like 400.
I think the console is pretty fair. I wish 400 was the price, or $399.99.
I'm in the same camp where I believe that $400, that's the ideal. And $450 is, you know, it's okay.
It didn't drive me up the wall to pay an extra $50.
Because it's still $50 cheaper than a PS5 and a Series X. Actually, sorry, let me rephrase that nowadays. I forgot what year we are. In the year 2025, in the month of June or July when this video goes up, a Series X now costs $599.99. Base PS5 with a disc drive, $499.99. I mean, it's $50 cheaper than a PlayStation 5, and it's on the same price level as a PS5 digital only, but it's also $150 less. Right? Am I doing my math? Yeah, $150 less than a Series X. And honestly, that's a pretty fair price for a Switch 2. I mean, it's not as powerful as those consoles anyways, and we know this.
Shoot, if I was an economist, I'd give you a better answer. I don't know, bro. Like, they wanted to have like more cutting edge technology while at the same time mass producing it. There's like a weird middle ground in terms of like, how can we reach the consumer, and then, you know, big companies got to make their dollars. So I'm like, dang, you got me there, buddy. I'm not the one making the console.
It's still one of the only consoles that comes with 2 controllers out the box, technically. And I think if you're doing the Mario Kart bundle, that's even better. $500 and you get Mario Kart for $30 off. Great.
If the pricing doesn't increase, and maybe if they offer $500 bundles with not just, you know, Mario Kart, but maybe other games like later on, especially since Mario Kart Worlds bundle is a limited time thing ending in the fall, that still might actually be a pretty solid deal, considering that like the high profile first party games are going to be beyond a $50 deal that would be part of that $500 bundle.
In terms of games, we all knew $70 was coming, right? Every other modern platform charges $70 base price nowadays.
We only have one example of an $80 game, which is definitely something to argue about for sure.
Mario Kart World, in my opinion, is really good, but I don't know if it's $80 good. I feel like Mario Kart World has a little bit more improvements to do. You know, features were removed, like 200cc. There is less tracks than in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe base, Mario Kart 8 World Deluxe. But Mario Kart World is really good. Do not get me wrong. That game is a 10 out of 10. $80 is kind of a high price for me. I still bought it. I'm part of the problem.
I am also in a camp where I think $80 is still a bit too much, and $70 is starting to become a norm, but isn't the absolute.
But I still bought it.
I'm just hoping that like when we do get more games actually too, like they're not like really taking advantage of everybody just because, oh, it's Nintendo, they're gonna buy it.
Cyberpunk 70 makes sense. Donkey Kong Bonanza is gonna be 70. Makes sense. I like how some of the game key cards are not $70. I don't think there's a single game key card that's 70. I think they're all 60 or lower.
I've also been seeing a lot of variable pricing, especially when you look at games such as, you know, Welcome Tour.
If the highest is $80, what is the lowest is what I'm trying to figure out. Would it be Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour, where it's $10? Because Dragon Drive, as of this video, Dragon Drive's coming out August 18th. That's $20 eShop download.
And it's just going to be a case-by-case basis. But if we're really focusing on what could potentially beat the $80, I mean, it has to be like some high-profile third parties that would be willing to push that to $80, if not first-party Nintendo.
Now, granted, I have gotten a lot of enjoyment out of Mario Kart World, so I guess I was gonna buy it anyways, and it's not like the craziest thing in the world, especially now that the Outer Worlds 2 is gonna be $80 as well. I'd say pricing for games is definitely all over the place, but it hasn't deterred me from buying some Switch 2 games. I definitely still have like at least 7 of them.
I think you could chalk up my answer to like, I'm not really for $80 just yet. We'll see.
If there's to a point where I start spending more time of seeing what I'm getting out of the value of my console and these games that, are going to be released in the future, at this point, I'm just going off like how I feel about it and how much time I put into these games.
And last question, what are you hoping that Nintendo will do in the near and somewhat far future?
I think right now they're on a good steady pace. We need dates for a lot of the first party games. We're kind of in the dark when it comes to a lot of this stuff. I kind of wish they would kind of pick up the pace with those a little bit more.
Hopefully more mainline entries into like Zelda and Luigi's Mansion. All right? I want to see the best brother get more spotlight. Matter of fact, get all of the Luigi's Mansions and just make a collection with a new entry. You got to do it, Nintendo.
Super Mario Strikers just got announced for GameCube. So let's keep adding to NSO. Let's keep giving us a little bit more retro games here and there to kind of fill in the blank spots.
They can like revitalize other IPs. Like if you can revitalize F-Zero, right? Again, they're just throwing it in the Nintendo GameCube Classic. It's just like, remember this? Yeah, I kind of do. It would be nice if they could.
As far as I know, we're getting like 1 game a month again, but also we're getting a Switch 2 edition game as well on top of that. So 2 Nintendo first parties a month is actually kind of fire.
I'm taking it 1 game at a time each month, so that's my current strategy on that one.
Like F-Zero and Star Fox, right? The thing is more of just like taking like a risk, because I don't know what the last thing they've done with Star Fox, but I guess it wasn't like the craziest sell. It was good, but it wasn't like a crazy sell. But I think it would be cool for them to have like, take a chance on some of these titles that people see like lingering around, like not just through Smash Brothers or like whatever other console they make a reference to, but it would be cool for them to do something. You can introduce it to more modern audiences, and then that way we could have like more of like a bigger library instead of just waiting on such and such the next Mario something. Like that's always going to be there. There's always a given. But that's something I would hope for. Take a little bit more of a risk for like your other unused IPs.
I think Nintendo is doing a pretty good pace of first party games overall this year. And I don't really think like I just hope they keep the pace going. I want the schedule laid out in front of me to see what I'm going to be hyped for.
Given the patterns with Nintendo Switch 1 and the different like models and everything like that, I would be okay with that.
I would love to see different more models for sure. A Switch 2 Lite would be cool for those people who want to jump in at a cheaper price.
I personally will be trying my best to stay away from other models. In this case, a possible Nintendo Switch 2 OLED.
I want to switch to OLED for sure. If I'm missing a nice feature, it's definitely an OLED screen. I don't hate this screen. It's not like I'm just completely going to diss the screen because it's LCD.
I think the screen here is pretty okay, but it's nice to have options for other people.
I do like an OLED screen, and I feel like I would pay $500 out the gate for a Switch to OLED.
So that is everything as far as the questions. More than likely, we're going to be trying our best to put out another Switch 2 video, possibly maybe halfway, 6 months later, if anything, just like a year later. Going forward, we're going to be posting more Switch 2 content in the form of the games and maybe some other special things on top of that, and not just an overall review about how we feel about the console. So if any of that is interest you, if your interest is piqued, feel free to subscribe to the YouTube channel, as well as also like the video here. We also have a set of videos over here. If you guys like the Legend of Zelda games, I would highly recommend that you check out what's going on with Nintendo Switch 2 editions of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. I am working on the Tears of the Kingdom video. Even beyond the Nintendo Switch 2, feel free to check out some of the memo and the demo stuff that Anaya has been putting out. That's gonna be it for us. Thank you all so much for tuning in on this one. We'll see you guys in the next one.